Time for a third bonus Bitcoin video. And what we're going to do in this one is take a look at a couple charts I haven't talked about or shown in quite some time. One is got the Mempool. I call that the lost transactions or delayed transactions, might be another better term, as well as the average fees in which is needed to pay for your Bitcoin when setting them on the blockchain. Price action remains here above the 18 average on the 4 hour. Buyers in full control. Daily term, buyers in full control. Weekly term, buyers in full control. Monthly term, buyers trying to regain control. It is now noticeably above the 18 average of highs. Single hour term time frame, buyers in full control. 15-minute time frame, buyers control has stalled a little bit, but sellers by no means have taken any control whatsoever. Same thing on the 5 and on the 1 minute time frame, market is becoming very choppy. And that's not a surprise on the one, even on other ones. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about these other charts. As what I was thinking about doing earlier, and when I say earlier, I mean like 15 minutes, maybe 8 minutes even before the starting of this video, was why not buy some Komodo? Probably want to buy 50 bucks worth, maybe 60, 55, 50 to 60 worth. And then I'm thinking to myself, oh man, it's probably going to be well more than a buck to send the fee. Because the last time I sent Bitcoin, it was noticeably more than $1. I think dollar to third. And I'm thinking, is it really worth it for like 50 bucks to pay that kind of fee? And I'm thinking, no, not really. Not really. I probably want to do so on a bigger play, maybe 300. So now I have to say to myself, do I want to make a nice little transaction, at least like a 0.03 spot, to make the trade worth doing? Maybe a 0.04 spot. Do some more than just buy Komodo. Maybe buy even 2 coins and trade it like I do with Neo and Florin. And at that case, I probably will do such, and then of course buy the more Komodo. So therefore, let's take a look at the average cost of sending Bitcoin on the blockchain. And this is the image that I got. So really cheap back in the day in 2016. This is the fee here, so well under 20 cents. And then in here in 2016, well, about 20 cents, maybe a fraction higher. The dollar number comes with all these lines then. So it stayed under $1 up until the first part of 2017. And then it left the dollar mark well into the second quarter of that year. In moving this over, we'll notice any similarities within the price of Bitcoin. Here we have the highs, right when the Bitcoin price topped. And that was like $30 to send Bitcoin. This doesn't coincide with the price by any means. It's extremely more volatile. It was quite high. In fact, we can see it's at the top of these two lines, which is like $60. It got to the point where the average cost got over $60 to send Bitcoin. That's how high it got. This low, well, we can see here that it got under 20 cents. And these two lines represented $1. So to say during the bear market that I took advantage of like, oh, I want to put 20 bucks here, 30 bucks here on whatever. Yeah, you know what? I might as well. I might as well do it. Because during this time frame where price action was in here, basically the end of last year up until, well, pretty much the end of March or many several weeks ago, it was extremely cheap to send Bitcoin. And I can remember a couple instances at the very bottom. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is just, I mean, it's amazing is what I'm thinking. But I was also thinking, is prices going to, I mean, is this a bottom upon one of the things that was going in my head? And the answer obviously looked to be yes now. But as we stand here today, all those lines that scatter at the bottom represent $1. The second line represents $2. which is what the average cost is to send Bitcoin on the blockchain. And even if you do the fast, and I haven't tried doing extremely cheap costs, but even if you try to put as money saver economy issue that you might find on hardware wallets like the Trezor, it's still going to be $1.40. And the cheaper you go, the more likely it is that your transaction will go amongst that mempool or pending for quite some time. I haven't had this happen to me in quite a while. And up top, this is 175,000, but yeah, we can see the dates. We can see practically everything in here. This is where we stand right now. So therefore, the amount of lost transactions, it was a lot higher before. Let's just take a look at these peaks and make sense of what it all means. So we've had like a little bit here, and then you have like this one, and then this big one in here, and then of course it happens again. Settles down, but only for a short period. Has this little rambunctious amount. So this just tells you when you're in here, there's a better chance that you were stuck. And when I was stuck waiting for him, a lot of times it was during these high moves. For during this whole run in here, I really haven't had that problem, which has been nice. And when we look at it, okay, so it got a little high here, but compared to where this resistance has been since the price decline, not too bad. And I don't know if it's because a lot of transactions go through. That's when they happen to get lost. It makes sense that it might be. But it also goes to show you as far as where we stand right now. We had this little bit of a blip here. But in comparison to all of this stuff here, that's just that, a little bit of a blip. It comes back down, settles in, has another small blimp, and it's just settling in. Yeah, a little bit more aggressive than it was back in here. But we're seeing no signs. But maybe if we're looking for price tops and for big bull markets, maybe we want to look for these lines to go up here. And then, of course, as I was showing amongst the average transaction cost, if they start to rise back into these higher levels again, then that might be another indication again that it is ready to top. Because when the fees are expensive, I need to make larger size purchases. Because I suppose if I really wanted to make a $20, $30, $40 kind of purchase, $50, I'd rather look for something like a Litecoin or practically almost every other coin out there. I mean, even the dashes and the Ethereums are probably a little bit cheaper, but I'm looking to spend just small amounts. And Litecoin right now offers that, but I don't want to sell Litecoin to buy Komodo right now. In fact, I'm trading that against the ratio. I'm just figuring, you know what? Why don't I just add a little bit Komodo at these prices lower? Because that's been the whole plan. As prices decline against Bitcoin, even though I'm trading them on the ratio, I plan on accumulating more of those coins and then continue to trade them on the ratio as the prices do decline. Now, what will probably end up happening is the Bittrex or the Binance wallets are opening on, I think, tomorrow. So if Komodo prices still are low, I'm going to be putting Bitcoin in to buy Theta anyway, as long as the prices are low there. So I'll just put in, okay, I'll put a shopping list in. Okay, I want to buy some Theta. I want to buy some, obviously, Komodo. Maybe there's a couple other coins I want to dance together, cross together. How much do I want to put in for each? I'll figure out what I need, then I'll make that deposit. So that's probably what I'm going to do. And if the prices end up coming up here in the next little while, it won't be as fun of a decision. But most likely that would mean that Bitcoin prices would have to accelerate to get there, meaning probably see 10,000. And if we see 10,000, altcoins could have a steady decline, especially if we see that move happen relatively soon. Over the last two videos that I've done, I have covered the reasons why I think a 10,000 price could happen pretty much ASAP. And in such, what would the rest of the market structure do? Maybe Litecoin goes up together with it and it does better or as good. Possibly, but probably not. My guess is that when a Bitcoin rally does settle down, we might see a nice little altcoin rally over a 5 to 20 day period or some whatever amount of allocated time, where Bitcoin prices either go sideways, barely go down, barely go up. Therefore, that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to make this intentionally short, and I still got it into double-digit minutes, but so be it. It's been a lot of 20, 30-minute videos recently. And I've shown what I wanted to show, which was the charts focusing on the transaction fees and the lost transactions. And I guess I can cover one more thing, just to tell you what the actual event is for that mempool. For when you're up in that higher level, and these are lost transactions that take a seemingly alarming large amount of time. I mean, these ones took weeks and weeks and weeks. A lot of them took weeks and weeks to recover. You could go 5 days, 10 days, 20 days when you get stuck in this, and then they'll come, but they, uh, they can take a while at times. Because normally, Bitcoin transactions might end up being a little slow, and I haven't had this happen in a while where they take like several hours. I haven't had that happen since probably my early days of owning Bitcoin in 2017. So that would have been probably up to about around in here, would have been the last time I would have had a situation where Bitcoin was like 4 hours. And it was actually relatively constant back then where it was. Where there was times, I think it would have been around this little period here where it was like literally 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes for Bitcoin to pass on a normal basis. Maybe that's another chart I should look for. Average time per transaction. That's an interesting statistic. And normally it's for two confirmations on Bitcoin. How long does that take? 30, 40, 45 minutes? At least that's what I've noticed the average lately. And I know that if I send some to an exchange, that it will probably take a good 20, 25 minutes before I'll even see it pending or ready to go on the upcoming deposits. It'll take 20 minutes before I'll even recognize it. So be it. And interestingly enough, I did make a purchase on Bitcoin recently on the end of the weekend. And it's back in here where I would notice how long it would take. I would do the Mississippi count, and I do this when I go to stores as well. In that I when I last push the button on my hardware Trezor wallet to confirm a transaction, I'll then start counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and oh, okay, there it is, 1.8 seconds or whatever it is approximate time, before I see on my screen a check mark, transaction done. We got notification. We're waiting for confirmations now. Everything's in a pending status. Yada yada yada. But the transaction's through. And it usually takes, again, before it'll be like 1 point some odd seconds. Well, last weekend it was immediate. I pushed the button, I went right to the page, and I seen the check mark right there. I was like, holy crap, that was under a split second or two. Okay, that's fine. Now, and before, a lot of times, during these little bits in here, it seems whenever I was doing it, at least during these low times, it was like 4 minutes before these same merchants that I would buy on Bitcoin would be like, oh, there's a check mark. I'm like, well, yeah, so be it. And then when you click on the transaction ID in some sort of blockchain explorer, you'll see unconfirmed transaction for like 15 minutes. I got a lot of that back then. And then you get your first confirmation. Maybe for 5 minutes it'd be unconfirmed, and then you'd see it on the block and all that type of stuff. But yeah, this is average time. So a little bit of people in here might have had to wait 4, 5, 6, 7 days maybe for a transaction to get through. But that's one of the things I even wonder about. What's going to happen in a situation where I get hit with one of those pending transactions, and I say I'm buying, say, gold and silver on the internet. I guess I suppose they would send it back to me when they get it. I don't know what else, because a transaction wouldn't be able to go through. Your 10-minute, 15-minute, how many minutes timer you have will come and not into Twitch. Won't happen. But when I go to, like, say, a merchant in town and I pay with what they call the debit card here in Canada, or Interac, where your funds from your bank account gets taken out for your purchase. After I put my last PIN number on the machine, I start doing the 1 Mississippi, and it usually goes to 3 to 4 Mississippis before I see the approve button on the computer, and I'm always thinking, man, that's twice as long as my average crypto payment. Interesting is all I think about. And when people say you can't use cryptos as money, well, maybe you don't know how. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.